Hello everyone, it's Campbell here coming at ya with another video, and today we are wrapping up yet another 3-part DCL series. Hope you've enjoyed the past 3 weeks of me telling you a little bit more about my Disney Cruise Line journey. It certainly has been a bunch of fun from my end to put these videos together. If you would like more of these type of videos in the future, please do let me know. For today's installment, we're going to be talking about one of the most important features on a cruise ship, probably one of the most important factors of anyone's life, let alone land, sea, the moon, anything. We're going to be talking about eating. You'll love to eat. Yes. So if you want to watch me talk more about food on and off board, then please keep on watching. So when it comes to food, much like the lockdown video, I have a whole bunch of notes, so I do apologize if I seem to be looking down a lot in this video. I'll try my best, but we'll go from there. Of course, one of the main places to eat on board is the infamous, the one, the only, the superstar themselves, the crew mess! Yay! All joking aside, the crew and officer messes are the main place to eat your meals whilst on board. Yes, there are 2 versions. There is one for crew and there are one for officers. The officers are for people who are of higher rank. So there's your captain, your staff captain, your heads of department, your safety officers and stuff like that. Anyone who has an officer role can eat in the officer mess, but everyone else goes to the crew mess. And just a little bit of a brief explanation about the crew mess, it's like a cafeteria. That's the best way to describe it. Pre-COVID, it was a buffet style. I mean, it still kind of is a buffet style, but you don't serve yourself. Someone else serves it for you because of all the restrictions and stuff like that on all you can eat sort of style. But it's a buffet style environment, and they serve 4 meals a day, at least whilst I was on board. You've got the breakfast, lunch, dinner, and something called late night snack, which happens at around 10:30 at night. Of course, all the times change, but late night snack is after, sort of late after dinner, sort of supper kind of deal. I will go through the different meals here in a little bit, sort of because each of them have different offerings. But one thing you do need to wrap your head around, the second that you get on board are the opening times for the mess. Not necessarily the mess on board, but also things like the mess on Castaway Key, because they also have different hours than the mess on board. I'll get through that in a little bit later on, but that is the one thing, first thing you need to do, because you need to figure out when you can eat. The reason why they open at certain times is because they have to have time to clean all the dishes and stuff like that. All the galley steward and stewardesses do an amazing job to make sure that all of the dishes are clean and fresh for each of the services. Plus they have to clean the floors and make sure that the food's prepped in time. It's like any restaurant. They have to have set operating hours for it to function properly. So let's go through everyone's favorite meal of the day. Some say it's the most important meal of the day, breakfast. Yes, I said breakfast weird. Leave me alone. This is not a bit. I assure you that is the proper way that I say the word breakfast. It's the first meal of the day. However you say it, don't at me in the comments, please. So breakfast, you have a whole lot of different options. I don't want to say it's like a continental style, but there is hot food as well as cold food. That's across the board. Most of the time for breakfast, they had a selection of Mickey waffles were a staple there. Different types of fruit. Sometimes they'd have whole fruit. Of course, you can only have 1 piece of fruit in your cabin, and it has to be gone for cabin inspection day, so pro tip. They had toast, typically only white bread, because wholemeal was a bit too spicy. They had cereal, they had rice, sometimes they have like sausages. They had different types of eggs, and by different types, I mean that you could either have them broiled or powdered scrambled eggs. Delicious. Lots of seasoning. They had soups, and of course, like I mentioned, rice already, and like a sort of savory option to go with the rice. There you go. Going into the crew mess, particularly at breakfast time, you have to kind of keep in fact that there are 80 nationalities on board a ship at any one time. So the meals do tend to be kind of generic, so you have to kind of keep that in mind. In saying that, there was one thing offered at breakfast that I cannot get behind, and that was this corned beef hash deal that was a staple every single day. I had it for the first few days. Now, I did give it a chance. I ate it like 3 times, and yeah, the results speak for themselves. Of course, they have like the soda machines, they have tea, they have coffee, they have sugar. The coffee is like your typical like percolated Starbucks coffee, but it wasn't Starbucks, it was like knockoff. But I will say they did have hot chocolate, and they had Nestle hot chocolate, so they had the good stuff. So that was breakfast, and breakfast would normally run from 6 to 9, typically. Then you would have lunch. Lunch and dinner was very similar. So for lunch, you typically had a chicken, a beef, or a fish dish on offer. They would also sometimes have little sandwiches, like little like subs, but they weren't really subs. They were just like a plain meat in 2 pieces of bread. Or you could make your own, so there's that as well. They would have a salad bar as well for you to choose from. Typically, I had chicken for lunch. I mixed it up occasionally. Sometimes they would have like specials of the day and stuff like that for both lunch and dinner. So if you wanted to, you could try that, or you could stick to the typical fare as well. They also had particularly chicken. I didn't really see any of the sort of beef, sometimes fish. They would do like something called a lighter fare, which means that they would literally just have boiled chicken or baked fish if people didn't want like the battered fish that was being on offer, which I suppose is good. That's a healthy option, right? Lunch would run typically from 11 to 2, typically in that time frame, because a lot of different departments would have their scheduled lunch breaks between then. I know in merch, we typically had either one lot of people went to lunch at 12, and one lot of people went to lunch at 1, if it was a sea day, for instance. Port days worked a little differently for us because we technically couldn't operate whilst in port, so we had a wider range. Fridays were good because Fridays for us were castaway key days. So they had a mess style offering on castaway key as well for us to enjoy. So it was similar food to what was being cooked for the guests. So we know it was Friday because it was barbecue day. Yes! Oh, I used to love that. It's all the food that I enjoy. You can make a burger, you could have ribs, you could have a minute fried steak if you wanted to, lots of different salads, and cookies. Yes, the quality was a little bit less than what the guests would get, but hey, it's that sort of food, and that's the sort of food that I live for. They would also have like fried chicken sometimes, and that would run parallel to ship's lunch. Now we move on to dinner at the mess. Similar to lunch. The only sort of exception is that they sort of increase the amount of offerings a little bit. So the salads, like I was talking about for lunch, they have some pre-done salads as well. I got addicted to the couscous salad instantly because I love couscous, and making a couscous salad from scratch is a lot of work. So I'm going to take my hat off to those people who do it on board every day. You know, you do what you have to do, I guess. So really appreciated that. And they also had like salad dressings as well. And I got addicted to this berry vinaigrette thing. But typically once those sort of salad dressings were out for the week, they were out for the week. So stock up early, kids, is what I'm saying. Not that the food went down in quality as the week went on, but you could definitely tell because they have like the staples that they do every single day, and then they have the once a week sort of specials that they do. Dinner ran typically from 5:30-ish to 8:30, 9 o'clock-ish. Typically, I said typically, your mileage may vary. Then we move on to late night snack, which ran typically from 10:30 till midnight. It would be a rush for merch to get down there in time because we typically finished at 11:30, so we were all very safe literally walking at this pace down the I-95 to get to the mess from one end, from the forward all the way to the aft. But Late Night Snack was famous for its pizza. Oh, the pizza, listen. I have a love-hate relationship with that pizza. I love that pizza. That pizza doesn't necessarily love me back. But I will say that it was good to have a little bit of a variety. However, I will say one night during the lockdown, we got, and this happens sometimes during normal operations too, we get leftovers from the office's mess. You might be thinking to yourself, yeah, they're serving off leftovers. A, it's to reduce waste, and B, we're not going to complain because it's different food. Us crew members, we're very simple people. I don't know if you figured that out yet. One night during lockdown, we got leftover cake, and your girl was having a rough day. And look, I'm not proud of the fact that I ate 7 to 9 different pieces of cake. I will say this, they were really good. Also, they would have little things like sort of beef noodles if you weren't really feeling like a big heavy meal of pizza and cake. And they would have some like dinner and lunch things that were left over as well. So there you go. That is a very basic overview into the different offerings at the crew and officers mess. Of course, the officers mess have a different sort of food than what we do, but hey, that's what they're there for. That's one of their privileges. It's a very brief introduction, but it is basic food, but it's basic food done well, in my opinion. I'm very basic. Listen, I could eat the same meal for 5 times a week and not complain. But I will say this, on the flip side, the first thing that I requested when I got back and out of quarantine was vegetables, fresh vegetables. Because we're spoiled here, we have a farmer's market literally like 10 minutes down the road that operates on weekends, and like we can get any fresh produce that we would like at any instant if we wanted it. So we're just spoiled. Oh, and with dinner you get dessert, so there's that. Shout out to all the stewards and stewardesses though who have to wash our dishes. I made sure that I thanked them every single meal, and they were like, no thanks Dale, like they would, like, because they're sort of, they're not behind a screen, but they're like behind like half like servery, because that's where they stack their clean plates. So there you go. Always say thank you to people whose jobs you wouldn't do, because someone's doing them for you. Let's talk more about other ways that you can get food on board. Now, one way that you can eat is with approval, and about 3,000 forms and 3,000 admin hours later, apparently. I never did this because I wasn't there for long enough before lockdown happened. But you can submit a request, and provided that you're off, you could eat in rotational dining. Conditions apply. About, like I said, you have to fill out forms, you have to get manager's approval, you have to get dining approval, you have to get all sorts of things. You have to be a Disney look, you can't, you know, you have to meet these certain dress standards, and I think it's you and one other guest, like there's a whole bunch of other things, but you used to, I don't know if you still would be able to, have the privilege to eat at guest restaurants. I didn't get the chance to do that. That could all change, but that was an option when I was on board. Depending on what your role is, you also could get Deck 11 privileges. And now what I mean by that, and of course that varies on ship to ship, but you could eat at some of the quick serve locations as well. We, as merchandise sales associates, could go to Sweet on You, which was an ice cream sort of parlor on board. The only reason, but we couldn't eat at, say, like Flo's, the quick serve restaurant. The main reason that we could eat at Sweet on You and not at Flo's is because Sweet on You is actually a merchandise location. Go figure. So, because they did sell merchandise in there, so it was only fair to let us go into there and try the product. But again, depending on your privilege level, you could potentially be able to eat at both. So that's sort of meals checked off. You don't really have that many options when it comes to sort of meals on board. So you kind of have to be creative with what you're given. Another way to get food on board was, of course, snacks. Now let's talk, there are 2 main ways to do this. One was via the crew shop. So crew have a merchandise location that they can access that is exclusive for crew, And it's sort of like a crew convenience store is the best way that I've described it to people. You have your necessities, you have your sundries, you have medical stuff if you need them, C-bands, Dramamine, all that sort of stuff, like medicine and sundries and stuff like that, as well as snacks, beverages, and on certain nights you could purchase alcohol with limitations, of course, of, I think it was like 24, like a carton of beer or 2 bottles of wine. Something like that. Anyway, a week. But most people were responsible, so there you go, because of course they are. Oh, and they had things like crew exclusive shirts and stuff like that as well. So there you go. And they had reduced to clear sort of items. I know for a fact that the Star Wars Day at Sea stuff got reduced. It all went to the cruise shop because we were trying to get rid of it, and the crew ate it up. Like, literally. Another way to get food on board, of course, was to go shoreside and bring it back with you. Of course, a lot of the limitations were applied, and shoreside excursions were cancelled quickly after me getting on board because of all of the quarantine and lockdown and stuff like that. But you could get that sort of thing delivered to the ship. The ship would have a physical address where we would port, so you would get things sent to there. It would come on board once a week with load, and you would get your treats and your snacks or any care packages, as you will, throughout that process as well. During lockdown, a lot of people did do that, so sorting through the mail was quite great. And I believe I was the only person who didn't crack the Amazon code and buy anything. You know, panic buying was real, people. Panic buying is real, and I'm guilty of it. I hoarded a whole family pack size Oreos for no reason. I had no reason to have them, and they were just sitting in my drawer. Like, I didn't need them. So that is pretty much it for food. Again, just sort of summarize, you've got the crew mess for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and late night snack. And you can, with the appropriate paperwork, you used to be able to go to in-restaurant dining, rotational dining. And with the right privilege levels, you could eat in other areas of the ship as well, like Sweet on You or some of the quick serve locations. You of course could bring food back on board with those limitations in place, or you could come support us Merch Family in Merch Family, or you could support the Merchies, that's what we're called, Merchies, through the cruise shop, going that way, getting everything that you need. But I will say this. In your crew cabin, this is very important, this is a very important announcement, is you could not have any perishable items in your cabin at any time. No perishables, that means no milk, no yogurt. I say milk weird too, don't I? Anyway, no dairy, no fresh stuff. One piece of fruit was okay from the mess. It had to be from the mess. Nothing perishable in your rooms. So there you go. And of course, that's the sort of stuff that they check for cabin inspection day, which was every Thursday, I believe. There you go. There is a detailed look into what meals looks like on board a Disney ship. On the Disney Fantasy, I was experienced 2 different messes. Again, messi? Sure. But on the Magic, I had the privilege to eat at the officer's mess, technically. I mean, during the lockdown, both messes had the same food, so there you go. But on the Magic, I enjoyed my Begs Benedict. Begs Benedict. I love that dish so much. I hope that was quite a little insider look into what it is like. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a like and subscribe for more great content, and ring that bell so you get notified every time I upload a brand new video. If you'd like to support this and everything that I do, please consider supporting my Patreon at patreon.com/DaleCampbell. That's patreon.com/DaleCampbell. That's DaleCampbell. If you'd like to follow my many Instagram adventures, including some Disney Cruise Line stuff over there for you to check out, you can. It is at the Dale Campbell. That's TheDaleCampbell. We've got a Discord that you can join to keep up to date of new videos coming out and talk to me once we go offline. You can join that over at bit.ly/DaleDiscord. That's bit.ly/DALEDISCORD. And if you'd like to support the channel and look cool doing it, you can go over and buy some generic live show merch. That is over at bit.ly/GLSmerch. That is bit.ly/GLSmerch. Thank you everyone for watching this video and the second part of the DCL series, parts 4, 5, and 6. Again, if you'd like more, please do let me know. These videos were a bunch of fun to put together. I've got more DCL stuff. I've got the stuff from my Disney college program that I haven't even touched on yet. What have we got coming at you next? Your guess is as good as mine. But I've been DCL Campbell coming at ya. Bye everyone.